name's Tim Mullen. I'm the head of the campus here at Sacred Heart College Middle School, so responsible for the day-to-day organisation and administration of nearly 700 boys.
700 boys? How many teachers?
45 teaching staff and a wider staff of close to 70. I think the challenge that we've identified, particularly with our staff, as I alluded to before, is that there's a real push to move from management to leadership, and they are very different concepts. So for people who are what I describe as our middle managers, so our POR2s, is for them to gain a greater understanding that their roles involve high-level activities around leadership, and that was the real push. So to put it in a school context, most people would have the assumption that if you're in a middle management, that you are if you're the wellbeing person at Year 7, then your job is to look after the Year 7 students. That's true to a certain extent. However, in order to ensure that that's done effectively and properly, that there's an understanding that you need to not only look after the students in there, but in order to do that, you need to manage the people in your care, so your line manager, and that itself involves working with groups of people. So fundamentally, that shift from working with students to working with adults within an organisation, which has both internal and external stakeholders. So it's developing a wider experience for our middle managers as well. Mm-hmm. Coaching Ourselves was recommended to us by another colleague who's done some work with our executive before and continues to do some work with leaders in Catholic education across South Australia. I guess what appealed to us the most about Coaching Ourselves is the self-empowerment and the notion that in a traditional sense, in leadership development, you sit and listen to a guru speak for a period of time and you make some wonderful connections while you're there at the time, but it doesn't tend to go places. So the thing that we liked most about Coaching Ourselves is the notion that you have a topic, you unpack it, but you put it into the context of where you're at the moment. So within your school context, and then you relate it to specific issues of the time. And the second part that probably appeals to us the most is that you've got the people who are actually involved in the situation managing the conversation and putting it into a real context. So you're not getting 80% of external input, you're getting 10% of external input through the course and the direction, and then 90% of the conversation is dealing about the issues that you are managing or leading at the time. So it's that group sharing experience which is probably the most powerful aspect of the course. Come back to the fact that the people in the group got to initially choose the wider topic and look at areas that focused on that. We encourage them to choose areas that they might not necessarily think, i.e. external stakeholders and those sorts of things, because it's important for them to make the connection that in a school setting there are more than teachers and students. There are financial constraints, there are old scholars, there are community aspects that need to be incorporated into that. So that was really important. But it comes back to them then choosing the topic, but then having scope to shape it to their environment. There have been certain changes, and as I said, the changes that we're particularly looking for are the change that happened with staff working with staff, not necessarily with students, and staff working with external stakeholders. Part of the leadership, and I don't like to use that word journey, but part of the experience was having particularly our middle managers come to a greater realisation that the key ingredient of their job is to work with people and to work with external people as well, in order to improve student outcomes, which is what we're about. So we're about students being happy, safe, but also about data-driven school, looking at literacy and numeracy and increasing those sorts of areas, incorporating life skills of ICT and creative and critical thinking. All those sorts of things happen through the good work of teachers, and we know that all the evidence suggests that 70% plus of a student's experience is related or connected to the teacher, particularly in a boys' environment where the relationship is absolutely integral. That the way to improve that is to empower the staff that they're working with to become better teachers and to manage situations in a better way. And I think we're starting to see signs of that across, and that's really allowing these people to have a broader understanding of what's happening at the time. I guess yes and no. It was new for our staff, and for many staff, as I said, the model of professional development has consistently been the someone standing and delivering some content and some whatever else at different levels. Staff getting used to the fact that they're leading this themselves and that they might be given the topic the week before or not having one thing that does appeal to staff is the fact that there's no preparation and there's no follow-up after that. But staff would informally follow up on things that have come from that. So being in the same room, we also had an ear on what was happening on the other side. So we also got to understand some of the issues that we might consider as minor, but were considered as quite significant. And the unpacking and the reasoning and the questioning and those sorts of things around it were really important. So there is a mindset change for staff to get used to, that it's not someone out the front leading it, and that it requires, obviously the way it's structured too, is that each of the members are required to rotate and take a part in it. You can't technically be the guy that falls asleep in the back of the room and those sorts of things, or the person that's at the front that's dominating conversation. So there's that happy medium which encourages you to do that as well. So I think another powerful thing that we did is that as part of our exec group, I didn't put this in there, but we invited our IT manager into it as well, to give that perspective about ICT and managing business and funds and dealing with a whole range of cyber issues and those sorts of things, just to bring the industry side of it into an organisation. And I know that he found that particularly useful, enabling him to connect and understand, because they are worlds apart, the teaching world and I guess the non-teaching staff as well. So that was important.
So do you think everyone benefits from having him involved?
Yes, I do. I think it just provides another lens that you wouldn't necessarily be used to. I think as part of the teaching world, as most industries, that people get very focused on their own world, and we promote community and we promote collaboration and those sorts of things, which are really important. So it's important for all staff to know that they are working alongside others, and hopefully with the same vision, working in the same direction, which always from time to time needs realignment, which the Coaching Ourselves topics and things that we did allowed for that alignment, to at least for those discussions to occur.
Great, thanks very much, Tim. Really appreciate it.
No worries, you're welcome.